Okay. So once again, excellent. Our Gemara is discussing not playing late, paying up on time. When you pledge a carbon, a sacrifice to the Beis HaMikdash, you have to pay on time. Now, I think it's good to just understand the context, because our Gemara brought a brisa which had so many variant opinions. How long does one have to pay up their pledge to the Beis HaMikdash? Whether it's the value of a person, whether it's a carbon. And we brought the opinion of one holiday, 2 holidays, 3 holidays, 3 consecutive Yom Tovim holidays starting with Pesach, so 3, 4, or 5. Other opinion that only that goes until Sukkos, no matter from when in the year it started. So we have 5 or 6 different opinions about the same topic. It's a mitzvah in the Torah, literally. How could there be so many variant opinions about the same mitzvah? And that's just to bring out the idea. The point is that the mitzvah of the Torah was given to Hashem, by Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu repeated it to the Jewish people, and it was done in a sequence. First, he repeated it to his brother Aaron. Then Aaron's sons came in. He repeated it to Aaron and his sons. Then the elders came in. He repeated it to Aaron, his sons, and the elders. Then all the Jewish people came in, and he repeated it again to all of them. Then he left. Aaron repeated it to everyone. And then he left. The elders repeated it to everyone. They left. And then everyone reviewed it among each other. So all of that teaching, can you imagine? Imagine listening to a 3-4 hour shiur. It takes a lot of focus, especially then. Everybody was standing the whole time while they learned Torah. But then, imagine sitting through that same shiur 3 or 4 times consecutively, and that's what happened by every single mitzvah of the Torah. So imagine you have such a huge body, you could say, of Torah, and with all that, from what do we have from all of that? The Torah Shebeksav, the 5 books of the Torah, which comes out that everything which Moshe Rabbeinu put, which he taught, is all really placed in the Torah itself. So you could sort of say how the Torah Shebeksav, the written Torah, Chumash, is, you could say in a way, a pirush on Torah Shebal Peh, an explanation for the oral Torah which Moshe Rabbeinu taught to everyone. And therefore, from every single word in the Torah contains inside of it a tremendous amount of expansion and understanding. And anyone who, I guess, wants to sort of be objective will have to agree that the Chumash itself is not so self-explanatory. You have to come onto Torah Shebal Peh, an oral tradition, which is for the very basics. For example, how to pronounce a word, which nekudas, which cantillation, vowels to put on a word. You wouldn't understand any mitzvah without the Torah Shebal Peh, the oral Torah. Sit in a sukkah. What is a sukkah? What is a hut? What type of hut? Indoors, outdoors, tall, short. We need the Torah Shebal Peh. It says kosher. Don't cook a goat, a baby goat, in its mother's milk. Is a word chalav. Milk is a word chalev, the fat. Maybe it means don't cook meat and fat. We need a tradition, at least, to how to pronounce the words, and it's much more than that. All the mitzvahs of the Torah. Once you have that, and every mitzvah is really a tremendous amount of knowledge and depth, and it's written very short in the Torah, so there could be different understandings of the same exact mitzvah. Don't be late. So everyone is focusing. What was Moshe Rabbeinu's intention over here? Was he focusing on the holiday and the Yom Tov itself? Was he focusing on the person? A person should not be late, or the holiday should not go by that you were late. And according to all these opinions of understanding Moshe Rabbeinu, that's how it came to have different understandings on what the halacha is. And these are the things that are open to interpretation. Moshe Rabbeinu left it open. Hashem gave him, we say every morning, 13 principles of teaching the Torah, but in essence, there are many more principles available. So we were going through the various understandings. At what point does one must bring the pledge, pay it up by? We brought the opinion of the Chachamim, of the sages, that one has 3 holidays, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkos, from whenever they pledged. We had the opinion of Reb Shimon, who says 3 holidays starting with Pesach, so it could be 3, 4, or 5 holidays. Reb Meir says even 1 holiday. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says 2 holidays. Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon says it always goes when is Sukkos. You have to always pay it up by Sukkos. Not a bad idea. Just pay your membership by Sukkos. And the Gemara is now going through the same, all the opinions, and saying how they all learning have a different interpretation in the same words of the Torah. And particularly over here, Loisa acher, don't be late to pay it up. This is the negative mitzvah, the prohibition. The positive mitzvah to pay on time is you should only bring a karban where Hashem tells you, Basa Shama, you should come there and bring over there your karbanos, which means your offerings have to be brought to the place where Hashem chose, the Beis HaMikdash, at the time that you come, which means on the holiday, on the Yom Tov. And Reb Meir says that this is coming to teach you for the entire mitzvah. Bring everything, don't come late. At the time that you must bring everything. It's a law in the karban. The karban cannot be brought late, and that includes the negative prohibition. The Chaim say this is just a positive thing. Bring it, best to bring it at the first time. But if you didn't bring it in the beginning, you still are able to bring it the next few times. So come up to the top of the page, remember the opinion. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, once 2 festivals have passed, you have transgressed the prohibition of do not delay paying up your pledge. Once 2 holidays have passed. So the Gemara will now ask, what is the reason of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov? 2 festivals have to be passed to transgress the prohibition. Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Yaakov Mai Taima. What is the reason that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says you have up to 2 holidays to pay up your pledge? So Gemara explains, Tichsiv. He brings a completely new pasuk, a completely new verse. In Parshas Pinchas. In Parshas Pinchas, the whole second half of Pinchas is the Karbanis, the different holidays that are brought throughout the year. The Karban Musaf, the extra Karban, which you bring on Shabbos, the daily Karban Tamid that we say every day, and then Rosh Chodesh, and then all the holidays, and every single day of Chol HaMoed. And at the last pasuk in Parshas Pinchas says, letasu l'Hashem b'mayadechem. These are the karbanos that you must bring to God at their times. Levad, and this is besides your donation offerings. Pinchas your burnt offerings, your meal offerings, your drink offerings, and your peace offerings. But the word the Torah uses, these are the offerings of Hashem, b'mo'adechem, in your holidays. Meaning, you have holidays. Not one, you have two. Two holidays to bring every single karban. So, Eile ta'asu Hashem b'mo'adechem. These are the holidays that need to be brought, these are the offerings that need to be brought on your holidays. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who says that one has two holidays, two festivals, in order to bring their karban to the Beis HaMikdash, their pledge, because the pasuk, the verse says, we're going to read this on Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah, Eile ta'asu Hashem b'mo'adechem. These are the offerings you bring to Hashem at their appointed times. Miyat moyadim shnayim. Moyed means a holiday. It says you have to bring your karban at your appointed times. So the minimum of multiple is 2. Rebbe Meir explained it was 1. You have to bring it up right away. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, when it says you have to bring it right away, it means bring it, and if you don't bring it, you have transgressed a prohibition, a law, don't be late in your paying your pledge. Rabbi Yaakov says you're only late if it's after 2 holidays, because the Torah uses the word, bring up your karbanos in your holidays, so you have 2 Yomim Tovim, you have 2 opportunities to bring a karban. V'Rabbanan, the opinion of these sages who said that one has 3 holidays, right? The opinion of the rabbis, Kibun Shavar Leh Shleish Regalim. If 3 festivals have passed, no matter when in the year, you pledged 3 festivals from that time of the year, in order to transgress the prohibition of don't delay your pledge. How do they explain this inference of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, which he explains when the Torah says, "B'mo'adechem," bring your offerings to Hashem on your festivals. It means 2 festivals. So Gemara answers, look at the Rabbi Yoina. They explain their understanding that one has 3 festivals to pay up their pledge based on Rabbi Yoina. The Amar Rabbi Yoina, for Rabbi Yoina says, and in Mesechta Shavuos, Hikshu kol hamoyadim kulam zelazeh. Every single holiday, Yom Tov, are connected to each other. Why? Because the Torah says the word mo'adechem. These are your offerings in your holidays. It's not coming to teach you have to pay up your pledge by a certain time limit, 2 holidays. Rather, it's coming to tell you that all the holidays, which over here it's Sukkos and Shmini Atzeres, previously, the previous Aliyah is Rosh Chodesh, Shabbos, Shavuos, Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, Pesach. They all share a characteristic, Mo'adechem. All of them are included in one large category, which is Shekulam Mechaprim Al Tumas Mikdash V'Kadashav. All of them can atone for a sin of impurity. If somebody entered the Beis HaMikdash while they were impure, didn't go to the mikveh before, or they touched a dead body and didn't wait 7 days, weren't sprinkled, and it's a tremendous avera, sin. They receive misa b'dei shemayim, death by the hands of heaven. all these holidays, Yom Tovim, each have a Seir Chatas. Oh, it's flying around there. A Seir Chatas, a sin offering. And the sin offering... Shalom Aleichem, Reb Dovi.
Oh, hello. Shalom Aleichem. Aleichem Shalom.
So all of them have a sin offering, a carbon chatas, which is included with every single carbon on every holiday. Seir chatas echad, for example, on Shmini Atzeres you have one chatas, one male goat for a sin offering. It atones for the sin if somebody entered the Beis Hamikdash unwittingly and they were impure. And we learn that their sin is atoned because it states on Rosh Chodesh, Loses es avoin ha'eda, that they will be able to atone for the sins of the congregation. It says in Rosh Chodesh of that Karu Elai Moyed, it's a holiday. So Rosh Chodesh is a holiday, and every holiday is just like Rosh Chodesh, just like on Rosh Chodesh. One is atoned, the sin offering that's brought is able to atone if they were touching a sacred object while they were tamei, impure for a dead body. So too, everything, every holiday has a sin offering, and they all atone for the sins of the Beis Hamikdash. If somebody touched the Beis Hamikdash or touched a object in the Beis Hamikdash without purifying themselves while they were impure. Ask the Gemara back. Reb Shimon. So we just brought the opinion of the Chachamim, the sages, which stated that when it says the word, what's going like this? I think I know it. Maybe this will be a little better. When it says these are the offerings you bring to Hashem, b'mo'adechem. Mo'adechem is at your set holidays, multiple holidays. He says from there we learn one has 2 holidays to pay up their pledge. The Chacham and the sages says one has 3 holidays to pay up their pledge, and they said the word Mo'adechem is coming to teach you a different halacha, that if one went and touched a sacred object while they were tamei, impure, so if they were unaware of it, they are, and a Yom Tov already passed, they don't have to bring another atonement because a Yom Tov sin offering atoned for them. Rebbe Lezer, Reb Shimon, we had 2 different Rebbe Lezers. We had Rebbe Lezer Rebbe Yaakov, who said that one does not transgress until 2 festivals have passed. Rebbe Lezer ben Shimon says that you must bring up your pledges by Sukkos. Sukkos is a cutoff date. If you have any pledges you have to pay, it up by Sukkos. So Rebbe Lezer ben Shimon says even if one pledged the day after Sukkos, you have a full year to pay it up. If you pledged it after Pesach, you have 2 holidays to pay it up. Where does he learn this halacha that Sukkos is a cutoff point? Mehecha, the Gemara asks the question, where does he learn it from? The Tanya, for he learned in a Brisa. Lezer Reb Shimon Omer, Reb Lezer, the son of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, says, Lo yoymar chag ha-Sukkos, shabay diber kasuf, Lomen Nemar Lomer Shazeh Goyrim. In Parashas A, where we're going to lean on Shmini Atzeres, at the very end, it states Chag Sukkos tasalecha. You should make a holiday of Sukkos. Beginning, we spoke about Pesach and Shavuos. At the end, verse 16, 3 times a year come in front of Hashem. On Pesach, on Shavuos, and on Sukkos. The verse before was literally speaking about Sukkos. Verse 13, 14, and 15, we're talking literally about Sukkos. So verse 16 repeats Sukkos. So my time, why does a pasuk, why does a verse which tells us that we have to come to the Beis HaMikdash 3 times a year? Lo yomer chag Sukkos. It would only, if you want to repeat, you only need to repeat 3 times a year come to the Beis HaMikdash on Pesach and Shavuos, and then you don't have to mention Sukkos because we were literally in the middle of it. Shalei diber kasuv, we were in the middle of discussing it. Lama nemar, why do we repeat again Sukkos? Loimar shezeh goyrem, telling you that Sukkos causes one to transgress the sin of being late for a pledge, for a promise what to pay to the Beis HaMikdash, and one must pay up all their pledges by the end of Sukkos. If Sukkos passed and he didn't pay up yet, then he has transgressed. So every one of these opinions are each based on another pasuk, and each based on a different understanding. What is most important? Is most important the holiday? Most important the Sukkos? Most important the carbon? The person has to be paying up his pledge. And the Gemara is going to continue with this as we go on more and more. But we're going to just digress right now towards the idea of the 13th of Tishrei. But we're going to just sort of transition from this Gemara. It speaks all about the Sukkos, you have to pay up your pledges. Sukkos has to be a time when you have to be Chag Simchasenu. As the Torah states here 3 times. V'samachta b'chagecha. You should be happy in your holiday of Sukkos. Tachog. V'yisach sameach, you should celebrate and be only happy. Torah mentions happiness by Sukkos over and over. It's called Chag, the idea of Yom Tov and holiday. And we all know very well by ourselves that a Jew cannot truly be happy knowing that there's other Jews who are suffering. Someone else who is having hardships, wherever they are in the world. In order to be properly besimcha, happy, we are told to pay up all of our stucca pledges where we want to help someone else before Sukkos, and that way we can truly celebrate for our own a true simcha. An aunt and uncle of mine, before they were married, they were yichidus by the Rebbe, and so the Rebbe gave them a bracha that if you make bright and warm, all around you is going to be bright and warm in your home as well. So in order to truly be besimcha, to be happy, one must first make somebody else besimcha as well. And one cannot truly celebrate a simcha unless they first know that everyone else is taken care of as well. Now, being as today is the 13th of Tishrei, the Rebbe Maharash, we'll discuss a little bit of the Rebbe Maharash. Part of the idea of Sukkos is that we are taking the greatest revelations of Hashem, the Sukkah, which is tremendously great. It's called Makifim de Bina, the Makif from the level of Bina, the light of God which can never be expressed in the world. It's expressed by a Sukkah which surrounds us, every part of the person, even their feet and their shoes and the mud and the boots are inside of the Sukkah. And we bring with Lulav and Esrog, we bring it down to ourselves. We're bringing the light of the Sukkah into ourselves. We work on it a whole week. until we internalize it, and then on Shmini Atzeres, we don't have to make a bracha anymore in the sukkah. We don't have to bring it down, for it's already brought down. We still eat in the sukkah. And Simchas Torah already, we don't have to eat in the sukkah anymore. The pasuk over here in Yeshaya, when it discusses the blessings, or what will happen to us when Mashiach comes, and he says all the different prophecies of blessings, good things will take place. You can read it over here. Hashem will make beautiful fruit in Eretz Yisrael. Everyone will have more than they need to eat. Everyone will be holy. Hashem will wash away the filth, which means the sins of the Jewish people. Hashem will create over Har Tzion cloud and smoke. And these are all, again, many of them are allegories. And Kavod Chuppah, many of the Morim explain what this means. Kavod is the glory of Hashem in this world. Chuppah will be the Chuppah, which is infinite light, which is greater than this world, will come down. And the final verse over here says, "V'sukkah tia l'tzel yomam mechayrev v'lemachzeh l'mister mizerah mimater." Hashem will give us a shelter. It'll make a hut for us. It'll be a shadow from the heat in the day, and for refuge and shelter from the storm and the rain. And some of the Pirushim explanations explain this to mean on Sukkos. Sukkah is a temporary hut, but even the temporary huts will have the ability to protect like a house, like a permanent hut. So right now in Galus, we only are able to temporarily, from time to time, at special times, during Yom Kippur by Ne'ilah, or other special times when one is aroused, one works on themselves, to feel Hashem, to feel a specialty, a affinity of godliness. And that will be constant. What's temporary now will be a constant then. And the Spila Machse will be a protection, Mizerem or Mimater. Mizerem is a storm, Mater is from rain. In these words are actually hinted to a very beautiful idea. Dovi, how many positive mitzvahs are there? Mrs. Asay. Unmute yourself.
248.
248. So Zerem, let's look at the letters of the word Zerem over here. Zayin, Reish, Mem. Reish is how much? 200.
7.
Mem,
oh, yeah.
Mem is
40.
40, and Zayin is 7, 247. That's one less than 248.
Yeah.
Now look at the next word, Matar. Matar, let's count that. Mem is 40. Tes
40,
is 9. Reish is
9. 200.
So how much is Matar?
One more.
249.
Yeah.
Zerem is 247. Matar is 249. How many mitzvahs are there? 240 positive mitzvahs, 248.
Yeah. And so there's one more in this case. Yeah.
Right. So there's usually the word for rain in Hebrew is geshem, right? Matar is a less commonly used word. Matar is coming down from heaven. So it's coming to tell you that if you have any change in the Torah, if it's Zerem, 247 mitzvahs, and you mean you're trying to just take off one mitzvah, or missing a mitzvah, as our whole entire Gemara over here is Lavar Lov Vasei, right? That someone can transgress a positive mitzvah. You're going to do 247, not 248, and he says, listen, I got 247 and 248, not too bad. Or I'm going to add an extra mitzvah, which is not written in the Torah. Those are the storms which come to effect Har Tzion. Har Tzion is going on the Jewish nation, right? The mountain of Zion. It's going on the Jewish people. And for those who want to change the Torah, to add an extra mitzvah, take away a mitzvah, someone by themselves, also even without someone, an outside force. And by a positive mitzvah, the most important thing is action, to do it. And the 7 mitzvahs of the sages added on, for example, washing your hands, and Megillah, and lighting Hanukkah candles. These are not extra mitzvahs of the Torah. These are beautification. They're not you don't have the same status as an actual mitzvah of the Torah of 248. They're a branch of the mitzvahs of the Torah, a branch off. So in order for someone's mitzvahs to be complete, you need a house. Or you can have a sukkah as well. A sukkah, idea of the sukkah, is, as the Maggid of Mizrich explains, that the sukkah brings down from godly revelation down to this world. The holiness of the sukkah is such a great sukkah, it's so great, it brings down the Kedusha of Hashem, a person cannot experience it only through the medium of doing the mitzvah of sitting in the sukkah. And he explains it as just like Shem Meshumagin, Hashem's name has a shield. The sun has a shield to protect us, different layers of the sun to protect us. Otherwise, it wouldn't be too intense for us to handle the heat of the sun. Hashem has many layers of protection. One does a mitzvah, one brings godly light. You're able to sort of break the protection, break, and bring down Hashem's godly light directly here. Now, Dovi, if you could remember, who is Yiska? Yiska.
Well, because like this Yiska and Lot
That's the name for someone.
Were the children of Haran.
Right. Exactly. So, and who was it another name for? Yiska is another name for?
Sarah, I read.
Exactly. Oh, very good. So what's the last letters of the word Yiska? Yud Samech Chafei, Sukkah.
Yeah.
Right. So idea of Sukkah. Yes. And why was she called Yiska? You look at Rashi over there. Rashi says that because she was Sacha, she would speak with prophecy. She was one of the Sari Yemenu who was able to speak having prophecy. So through Simcha, through joy, especially joy of a mitzvah and joy of Sukkos, you're able to bring Ruach HaKodesh, godly spirit. It says, from the joy of the mitzvah of Simcha Space Shoeva, Jews are able to have prophecy. Yonah was one of the people who became a Navi, a prophet, through the joy of the Simcha Space Shoeva. One is receptacle through Simcha, through joy. And this is how the Maggid Mizrich explains, besides for every single mitzvah, bringing down godly light, the mitzvah of Sukkah is extra special because it has the extra specialty of Simcha, joy coming with it. The mitzvah is Man Simcha Seinu, the time of Simcha. And therefore, when you have Simcha, you're able to be a protection from anything which is going against the Torah, the Zerem and the Matar, the additions and the subtractions. Well, today is the yahrzeit of the Rebbe Maharash. We'll do some stories of the Rebbe Maharash. One of the Rebbe Maharash is one of only 2 Chabad Rebbes, so we don't have any pictures of. He passed away at the age of 49 in the year 1882. Interestingly, it's one of the Rebbe's first. One of his first, at least, Sfarim that he wrote in the early 1940s. He was tasked by the Friedrich Rebbe to write the biography of the Rebbe Maharash. And here is in English. You can order it if you like. Toldus and more Maharash. Chabad.org has it as well. And you could read the entire book for free on your own time. online. Biography of the Rebbe Maharash. He's buried in the town of Lubavitch on Yud Gimel Tishrei. Passed away on 13th of Tishrei. Starting from the year 1971, the Rebbe actually will make a Fabrengen every year on Yud Gimel Tishrei, 13th of Tishrei. This is currently at the Oyel of the Rebbe Maharash in Lubavitch. Today my brother-in-law, nephews, and a group from Moscow actually went to the Rebbe Maharash's Oyel in Lubavitch today. It's a very hard time to travel right before Yom Tov, but this is the Oyel of the Rebbe Maharash. On the left, on the right is actually the Rebbe Maharash's Matseva. The Nazis during the war, during the Holocaust, they knocked down all the Matsevas, all the gravestones in the entire cemetery. And later on, we don't know who, but somebody picked it up and put them back up, and where they were found. Later on, people would visit in the 60s, they were already put back up. But they were put up. The Tzemach Tzedek's Matseva was on the left, and the Rebbe Maharash is on the right, whoever put it back up. But in the actual Oyel, it was always that the Rebbe Tzemach Tzedek was on the right, and the Rebbe Maharash on the left. So they left the Matsevas where they are, and they made new Matsevas behind them. And more recent technology, they're able to pinpoint exactly where the Oyel was supposed to be, where the Matseva was, the shul connected to the Oyel, and all of this was just recently rebuilt. Literally the most, very, very recently, last 3-4 years. This is in the shul right outside the Oyel in Lubavitch. The one who you want to read a biography of the Maharash, there's plenty one can do in their own time. I'm going to specifically focus on two different aspects of the Rebbe Maharash right now of today. He was very famous. His famous line was Lechatchila Rebbe. Lechatchila Rebbe means to always go on the high road. So you have two choices. You have an obstacle. You could go under it or over it. Most people will try going under it, and if it doesn't work, then to go above it. Rebbe Maharash would say, I say Lechatchila Rebbe. One to always start off going above it, going beyond any obstacles. On Yud Gimel Tishrei, the last Yud Gimel Tishrei, 1991, Tafshin Nun Beis, the Rebbe told us to learn a Maimer of the Rebbe Maharash on this day, which is the first Maimer of Parshas Hazinu that the Rebbe Maharash said. So I'm going to bring it up here on the screen. I like to bring up 1 or 2 points from this Maimer. Here it is, Kama 50a. And if we have time, we'll go through a few stories of the Rebbe Maharash. It says, Hatzor Tamim Pa'alai Kichal Drachav Mishpat. Should we do a little here on the... It's at the very bottom of the page here. Amar Rabbi Chanina says, Kol ha'omer Kadosh Baruch Hu vatran yivatru chayav. Whoever says Hashem forgives transgressions, then their life will be relinquished. Shenemar, as it states, Hatzor tamim pa'aloi ki chadrachav mishpat. Hashem is just, and all of His ways are perfect. Amr B'chana v'yitema Rishul bar Nachmani, says Reb Chana, and says the name of Rishul bar Nachmani, Mai dechsiv Erech Apayim, doesn't it say that Hashem is very patient, He is long-suffering? L'ksiv Erech Af. So he says, it doesn't say Erech Af, long-suffering. It says Erech Apayim. He's multiple ways of suffering. Erech Apayim l'tzadikim l'rishayim. Hashem is long-suffering for the wicked and the righteous. That Hashem does not punish them immediately for their wrongdoings. He waits till it adds up to punish the wicked. Hashem does not reward the righteous immediately for the good things they do. Hashem waits till it adds up in order to pay them, give them a large reward at the end. Now, seemingly, it says, these things which I teach you today, I should teach you today. And the Gemara says, today we must do a mitzvah. In the next world, we will receive the reward for the mitzvahs that we do. So Hashem is not forgiving as opposed to waiting to pay up all together at the same time. That's what the Gemara says. So, question is, if you look at the Zohar sounds like many places, Erech HaPayim, the level of Erech HaPayim, Hashem forgives everybody. So, is Hashem forgiving or Hashem just waiting, patient in order to punish the person even more? So the Rebbe Maharash explains that if you look at the introduction of Zohar, it says that Hashem created the world with the letter Beis, Bereshis. Because the letter Aleph starts with the word Oror. Oror means cursed. And therefore something negative could come. Beis stands for bracha, blessing. And the world's created with a Beis, that Hashem created the world not with the emes, with the truth, which starts with an aleph, but rather he's saying there's two different types of ways you could either judge someone according to their actions, or you could have patience perhaps and give them an opportunity to do teshuvah. And therefore Hashem waits, and Hashem made it tzimtzum in order to give the people who sin a chance to come close to Hashem. And sometimes someone, God forbid, has to suffers, but it's in order for them to get closer to Hashem to do teshuvah. And this is what it means. He says, Atzor tamim pa'alai. Hashem is just in everything that He does. And Hashem is, everything He does is perfect. Because Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, who were the most perfect, they were called of all the people who served Hashem, they were able to bring down such great revelations of godliness that every Jew, no matter what, even later generations, is able to access a part of Hashem that is perfect. And they brought this down specifically to every single, only to all their descendants, to all the Jews throughout the world. And Rebbe Maharash, in his will, he tells his children that you should learn very much every single day, a lot of nigla, a lot of nister. He says 2/3 of the day you should be learning nigla, Gemara, Poskim, Halacha. 1/3 of a day you should be learning Chassidus, and on Shabbos you should do the opposite. 1/3 of a day you should learn the revealed aspects of Torah. 2/3 of a day you should be learning Chassidus. The Rebbe Maharash's Mamarim are, many of them are very deep. He was the first Rebbe to start a Hemshech, a Maimer, which is a series of Mamarim. The Rebbe Maharash himself passed away very young. He suffered health issues throughout his entire life. We'll just go through some anecdotes about the Rebbe Maharash. Let's see over here. I'll bring it up here on the screen in English. We'll bring some from here, some from other places. Actually, also my birthday today. Same Hilula of the Rebbe Maharash. So I just want to give a bracha. Everyone should be healthy and well, gesund, parnasa, nachas, and everything Hashem, for many, many more happy, healthy years. The Rebbe Maharash, as a young child, he was very brilliant, very smart. He was the youngest of all the sons of the Samach Tzedek, who had 7 sons. And he didn't have to learn too hard. He didn't have to put effort in his learning because he was able to understand everything. His father, the Samach Tzedek, told him that he explained to him at length how important it is that you have to put your entire being, all your effort into toiling and learning Torah. And then he started put so much effort into learning Torah. He says that he had red spots from veins, from effort on his forehead. And then the Rebbe Maharash gave him a middle path. The Rebbe Maharash, he was very, you could say, influential in the royal courts in Pittsburgh. At that time, there were many pogroms against the Jewish people, and the Rebbe Maharash put a lot of pressure, traveling to Pittsburgh, to capitals, countries. The Rebbe Maharash traveled out of the country. The Rebbe Maharash traveled to France and to Germany, put pressure on the Russian government to stop the persecution of the Jewish people. And the Russian government, the ministers, were very angry at the Rebbe Maharash. There were government-sanctioned pogroms going on constantly then. And they were angry. The Rebbe Maharash himself was arrested multiple times, only temporarily. There was another chassid, Rabbi Naimark, who was put into prison instead of the Rebbe Maharash, and he was there for several years in prison. He was finally freed after the Rebbe Maharash's Sukkos. And the Rebbe Maharash was told many times, if you keep bringing international pressure on us, we're going to find a way to finish you off. And the Rebbe Maharash said, I'm not scared. I'm going to continue going in the ways of my parents, who were willing to put aside everything for another Jew. And there was one time the Rebbe Maharash said that he was ready to tell the Russian government, the ministers, that if you continue in the persecution of the Jewish people, I will move to Eretz Yisrael, I will leave Russia, go to Eretz Yisrael, and I'll take with me 100,000 Chassidim, and it'll be a tremendous blow to the Russian government. But at that point, there was a movement called Bilu, called Beis Yaakov L'chuvanelcha, say the forerunner of Zionism, and which their idea was that instead of Torah keeping the Jews together, we need a Jewish state to keep the Jewish people continuing. And those who were running that were all those who were fighting against the Maskilim, those who were fighting against the ways of the Torah and the mitzvahs. And the Rebbe Maharash said, if I would have gone to Eretz Yisrael, it would have strengthened this movement, and therefore I didn't go. Had they added on the words Be'or Hashem, I would have gone. Bilu, the Hebrew letters are Beis Yud Lamed Vav, which stands for Beis Yaakov L'chuvanelcha. It's a pasuk from Tehillim. Let us go up to the house of Jacob. Let us go up to Eretz Yisrael. Our Jewish nation, let us go. But the next words are Be'or Hashem, in the way of Hashem. Had they added on the words Be'or Hashem, I would have gone as well. Rebbe Maharash himself was very striking in appearance, very handsome as well. To do justice is not even possible in everything of the Rebbe Maharash, whether it's in the ways he connected with people, the way he helped Yidden, the depth of his Mamarim, his lifestyle, which he lived very influential, very very lavishly, unlike all the other Rebbes. So even The Rebbe Maharash one time had to, one of the reasons he was very sickly is when the Rebbe Maharash was in Pittsburgh, the capital city once. There was a certain, a woman who was one of the dignitaries, a very distinguished woman, asked, "Who is this very handsome man?" Says, "Tell him to come to me." And they told him, this is from the Schneerson family. She sent an invitation to go see the Rebbe Maharash to come see her. And the Rebbe Maharash understood that what she wanted was not something good. And so Rebbe Maharash, he wrote prescriptions for himself, and he took a medicine which made him sick. And he sent a message back that I'm very, very sick, and I had to leave the city right away. Many of the stories of Rebbe Maharash are more well known, and you can read them over here. You can read them in other places. The first year of the Rebbe became Rebbe, year 1951. On his yard site, the Rebbe said on Shabbos after Mincha, the Rebbe said many stories of the Rebbe Maharash. You can find them all printed up online. So, the Rebbe, our Rebbe, he would wear a shirt from the Rebbe Maharash. That was his kittel that he would wear on Yom Kippur. Before the Rebbe Maharash became Rebbe, he was very non-assuming. He used to try hiding his knowledge or his greatness. He says one time there was a mimer from his father, the Tzemach Tzedek, and there was a great chassid, Rabbi Shmuel Ber Berisaver, one of the great chassidim of the Tzemach Tzedek, who had a hard time understanding the mimer because it was contradicting a Eitz Chaim, a sefer from the Arizal of Kabbalah. So he wanted to know who could he ask to explain to him the mimer. He went to the oldest son of the Tzemach Tzedek and went to the next son and the next son, and none of them could explain him the mimer. He decided, he's still one youngest son he didn't try yet, was Rebbe Maharash. Rebbe Maharash used to go around dressed like a businessman. He actually did business. He used to send messengers to telegrams from Lubavitch to the closest telegram, which was in the next towns over, Drunia, 10 miles away, and he'd tell them to buy this share or that share, even though the news would come longly delayed when it finally arrived to Lubavitch. Something Rebbe Maharash would know in advance. He decided it's late at night, but let me try the Rebbe Maharash, the youngest son. Came to the Rebbe Maharash, and he saw the lights were on in his house. And he climbed up, he saw through the windows that Rebbe Maharash was actually learning that exact sefer we had a question on, the Eitz Chaim. So he went around, he knocked on the front door of the house, and somehow Rebbe Maharash comes to the door and he says, "Who is it?" And he says, "This is Shmuel Ber Berisaver, who's a well-known chassid." So Rebbe Maharash said, "Just 1 minute," and it took a very long minute. Then the Rebbe Maharash opened the door and he says, "Shmuel Ber, what's wrong? Why are you coming to me in the middle of the night?" And he looks inside and he sees the same table with the Rebbe Maharash a few moments before was learning. The Eitz Chaim was now covered with newspapers in Russian and German and other languages. And so the Rebbe Shmuel Ber Berisaver tells him, "I have a question in the Eitz Chaim and in the mimer heard from your father, the Tzemach Tzedek." So the Rebbe Maharash looks at him and he says, "Rebbe Shmuel Ber, they say about you that you're a very wise, very clever person. You should know better than to come to me in the middle of the night with such questions. You see what I'm busy with over here? You're asking the wrong person." And Shmuel Ber Berisaver told him, "I saw what you were doing a minute ago through the window. And if you don't help me out when I question the Eitz Chaim, tomorrow morning the whole Lubavitch is going to know your little trick that you pulled off." Maharash had no choice. He smiled, and they sat and the entire rest of the night, and he explained to him the Maimarim, and he says he walked out almost flying from the great depth that he heard. The Rebbe Maharash, one time when he was traveling before he became Rebbe, during the time of his father Tzemach Tzedek, he went to the city of Belz, and when he was traveling, he stopped by the city of Belz in Poland, and he went to the Sar Shalom of Belz. Sar Shalom of Belz was a student, I think, of the Chayzel of Lublin. He was the first Belzer Rebbe. He's a famous story who stayed up 1,000 days and 1,000 nights learning non-stop in order to learn with Eliyahu Hanavi. He built the shul by himself. Belz is one of the things that they do very strongly is building beautiful shuls, starting because Eliyahu Hanavi learned with the Sar Shalom of Belz halachas of building a shul, and Sar Shalom became blind near the end of his life. He had to walk. There was a gabbai who would walk with him where he went. He said he would go every day to build a shul by himself. Even though he was blind, I think his wife would help him pick up the bricks. He said, if I was able to, I'd build the whole building myself. Belz is I think the biggest shul in the world, I think, is a Belzer shul in Yerushalayim, the most seats, the biggest area. Very beautiful place. I've been there multiple times. It's a nice place to learn as well. And one of their things is that only Jewish people are allowed to build a shul. So it took them 17 years to build a shul in Eretz Yisrael. And so at the end of his life, he was blind. And the Rebbe Maharash came once to visit him, to see him. And he wasn't dressed as anyone unique. He was dressed as a businessman. This is before the Rebbe Maharash became Rebbe. He was very young. And the Rebbe Maharash, when he came in, no one paid him any special attention, and he stood in the corner of the room, and he wanted to observe the Sar Shalom of Belz. And when the Sar Shalom walked in, and he couldn't see, he's being led by his gabbai. The Sar Shalom of Belz, when he walks in, instead of going to the place where he sits by himself, he lets go of the hand of the gabbai, and he starts walking. He walks straight to the corner where the Rebbe Maharash is, and he grabs him by his sleeve. And he says, "Who are you?" Everyone around turns around. Everyone there says, "This is just a businessman." And the Sar Shalom turns to the Rebbe Maharash and he says, "You can't hide from me. And he turned to everyone and says, "Yes, he is a businessman. The business he deals with is Adam Kadmon and Atak Yomin, levels of Ishtalshalos. That's his business." And one of the things then is he wanted to give the Rebbe Maharash shirayim, the leftovers of the food of a tzaddik, which is a big skula, and the Rebbe Maharash didn't want to take it because he says in Chabad our custom is not to have shirayim, not to take the leftovers of the food of the Rebbe. So the Sar Shalom told the Rebbe Maharash, "If I tell you the secrets, the inner meaning of shirayim, will you do it?" He said yes, and so he whispered in his ear for about 20 or 30 minutes about the idea of the Rebbe Maharash, about the idea of shirayim. And Rebbe Maharash was a stalik on Yud Gimel Tishrei, and it's unique on the Yud Gimel Tishrei when the Rebbe Fabreng, the Rebbe said there's many reasons to Fabreng on this day. The revealed reason is because it's the yahrzeit of the Rebbe Maharash, which means that's many special things, many specialties on this particular day. So we should have a freilich yamtiv, a good yamtiv, and only besuras tovos.
Indeed.